Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Beaufort Business Banter, where we take a little time every week getting better acquainted with local business leaders, folks who are spearheading local charities, and even local elected officials. I'm Will McCullough, and I'm the owner and broker in charge of Century 21 Coastal Town Realty, located at 83 Sam's Point Road on Ladies Island, and we are the sponsors for this program. Well, you know, we've been doing this program now for a while, and it's been a lot of fun, but decided to have a different guest today. So our guest today is me. It's Will McCullough. So I thought I'd interview myself today and give you a little background on myself personally. So Will, it's great to have you on here today, or have me on here today. All right. Well, let's get a little bit better acquainted with you. So how long have you lived here in the Beaufort area? Yeah, well, first off, thank you for having me on today. Finally, you know, I've been begging me for a long time to have the opportunity to come on the show. So finally got to step up and do it. So thank you for having me on. So that said, so when did I first move to Beaufort? I moved here in 1993 to serve as a drill instructor at Parris Island. And I loved that. And I was in the Marine Corps for a total of about 10 years. But I got out in 97 after 10 years in the Marine Corps and finished up my time as a drill instructor and began these other things that we're going to talk about. So yeah, that's how. Well, that's fantastic. Well, I knew that, but I don't know if anybody else did. But of course, I knew it because I'm you. So pretty fun stuff today. So let's talk about something else. Wife, children, pets. What do we have? Yeah. Wife, kids, pets, we have all three. So my wife, Dina and I have been together for 27 years. We work side by side every single day. We work full time together in real estate and our other businesses that we've done earlier. So we've been together for a while. And then I have two kiddos. My daughter, Kira, is currently getting ready to turn 26. She's in Savannah. And my son, Cooper, just graduated here this year at Beaufort High. And he is going to be 19 here in about a month. And then we've got three cats. And we just got a new dog, a new puppy, Dibs. He's not a puppy, he's about a year and a half old. He's a rescue dog, but we just got him. Excellent, excellent. So, well, we know, like you mentioned, you came here in 93 as a drill instructor. Let's talk a little bit about previous job types. What are some other things that you've done in addition to that? Previous job types, I mean, that's a pretty easy answer because I already mentioned one. So I went into Marine Corps when I was 18 years old. I literally left for Parris Island for boot camp the day after I graduated high school. So I was a Marine for about 10 years. And then nearing the end of the time in my Marine Corps, while I was here at Parris Island, in addition to being a Marine, we opened up a martial arts fighting school here in town called McCullough Submission Fighting. And that was back in the late 90s. It did really well. However, in and around that same time, we started looking at buying investment real estate and doing fixer-uppers, so we were doing that at the same time, and that's what led me to get my license. We actually ended up selling off that martial arts school, turning it over to one of our absolute top students, Abe Stem, who over the years has evolved that and is now the founder here in town. So we did that. Done some other things as well. I was the vice chair for Beaufort County Parks and Recreation. Got to have my say in helping getting the tennis courts downtown redone, which was fun. I served 4.5 years while doing real estate as the chairman of the South Carolina State Athletic Commission, which governs, regulates, and oversees all professional and amateur combat sports in the state. I'm currently the VP for the Beaufort chapter of BNI, a Business Networking Institute. I'm getting ready to enter my third term as a director for the Beaufort County Association of Realtors. So we stay pretty hopping, but yeah, that should cover previous and current job types in addition, of course, to real estate. Huh, okay. Well, thank you so much. Let's try something else. Everybody that we've had as a guest on here, we've asked them what's their personal keys to success, what's something they think that's really helped kind of formulate who they are and has helped them, continue to move on in business and in life. So knowing that, what would you say personally? And there could be a lot of things that you or any other guest would answer, but what would you personally say has been one of your big keys to success in life and business, whatever? Keys to success. Well, success is subjective. Everybody's going to have a different way that they want to interpret success, whether that's fiscally, whether that's occupationally, whether that's socially, whether that's family relationships. And I think all of those are important. But I think the answer to that for me personally is the same irregardless of which topic we're talking about, and that is to get really good at failing. Having a fighting background like we do, one of the things I always like to say is you absolutely cannot learn how to fight without getting punched in the face. And that's just part of life. And what happens is when you do have these hardships and you do have these problems, although it's kind of cliche to say it, it is the truth. That is not the end. That's just a new beginning and a way to learn to do things better. So don't be afraid of failing. I think failing is fantastic. It means you're trying, and now you know how to try something a different way. So I would say personally, if I could take it down to one thing, key to success is don't be afraid to fail, embrace it, and look for another opportunity to fail again, and just continue growing that way. Okay, well, thank you, or thank me, whatever we're going to say today. So, this is kind of cool. So, obviously, when we have a guest on here, one of the things we always like to do is kind of turn the floor over to them and talk a little bit. And obviously, we know you do real estate as the sponsor, long-term sponsor and creator of this show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into real estate and why you feel it's something that's important to you. And, we'll just take 2 or 3 minutes, and the floor is yours. Or mine, whatever the case may be. Have at it. Yeah, well, thanks again. I'm glad to finally be my own guest, and this won't be the norm. We'll have other guests, of course, in the future, but it's fun to do. So how did I get into real estate? Having a background as a Marine and doing all this fighting stuff, how did that happen? Well, I'll give you a little bit of a short story. I hope it'll be short. I come from a long line of very short lines. And what I mean by that is, my parents growing up, I came from a very rural town in rural northwest Pennsylvania, just kind of the middle of nowhere. Really good family, though. My parents, both of them were teachers. My mom was an elementary school teacher. My dad was a high school teacher. Just good people. The only thing is like I say, I came from a long line of short lines. My parents, neither of them, nobody smoked, nobody drank, nobody did anything. Just good family. It was great, very Opie Taylor, Opie Cunningham type of thing. That said, when I was 13, my dad, who was a lifelong athlete, like I said, never smoked, never drank, nothing, collegiate football player. When I was 13, he was 43. He had a heart attack and died. So at age 43. And then a few years later, my mom came down with leukemia, and she ended up passing away several years later. But the moral of the story is both of them passed away quite young, and that's always kind of left me very much in touch with my mortality. The problem with that, though, being a young person and then growing up and going through adulthood without parents, means you have no adult supervision. There's nobody to ask about important life questions, like, for example, how do you buy a home? So when Dina and I first got together, and this is back in the early mid-90s, we were living in a crappy, falling apart, rented double wide out in the farthest reaches of St. Helena Island. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, that was our life story. But it was getting to the point where, kind of want to do something else, create a better future for a family. We should look at buying a home. How do you buy a home? I don't have a darn clue, and I've got nobody to really ask. So what do? Well, you go talk to a realtor. So, and I like to read. That is my hobby. I love to read. I'll read anything you put in front of me. So I was reading all kinds of books, like how you buy real estate and how you do this and how do you invest. Like maybe that would have a better future if I could learn to invest in real estate. Remember, I'm living in a rented double wide out in the middle of nowhere, have no savings, no anything. I don't know how to do any of this stuff, but I can read. So I read all these books, put together this great big plan, and then we're like, okay, let's go down. We'll learn about how to buy our first home and how we can springboard that into being able to do stuff in real estate, get out of the Marine Corps, do some other things. So went down to Bay Street, and I'm not going to say where, but to a real estate company. It still exists down there, and walked in and met with a realtor. And I laid all this out. I'm standing there, sitting there with my wife, and I'm a proud guy, but I know that I don't know. And I laid out this whole plan to this realtor and said, this is what we want to do. We want to buy our first home, and then we want to be able to do this and this. And I had read this. And she looked at me and she went, she laughed. She laughed in my face. And it wasn't necessarily nefarious or intentional. It was her instinctive reaction to hearing our fiscal position in life and what my plan was. She instinctively thought that was funny, and for that split second, couldn't keep herself from going about it. And the thing is she was right. We were in no position to buy or sell or do anything. We just didn't know it. So it was very discouraging. It was very humiliating. And at that time, we're getting ready to get out of the Marine Corps. We've got our fight in school. And I just want to do something more to support my family and build a future for them. So kept reading and ended up talking to somebody else and eventually found somebody who was able to take us by the hand and say, look, you know what? You're right. Your dream is not impossible, but you can't do that now. You need to do this, this, and this first, and that'll allow you to eventually buy your first home and do this. So they were right. We followed their guidance, and that allowed us to start doing things and progressing in real estate. So, we were doing little fixer-uppers. I had a good partner. He was a former drill instructor with me and actually a student at the school. He's still in Beaufort now. He works for the sheriff's department, so I'm not going to mention his name. But we partnered up and we did some things, and that all kind of took off. So after a few years of doing that, along with our martial arts school, I turned it over to Mr. Abe Stem. Now, like I say, it's the Foundry, and we started doing well. And I did really well in real estate as an agent. I'm not going to sit here and brag and say top agent this and top agent that, but we did really, really well. Much better than getting shot at or punched in the face for a living, I can tell you that. But we were able to do it in a way that's allowing, I've never looked at real estate as sales. I'm never trying to sell this to you or make you buy this. I always view it as kind of being an attorney, but nowhere near as cool, in that my job is to represent you and your best interest and guide you through the process and get you where you need to go and represent you as if you were me. So I always look back to when I first started and somebody thought that my goal was laughable. I don't care if a person is trying to buy a multi-million-dollar home, huge tract of land, a big commercial property or a development project, or it's a young couple just trying to scrape by and maybe follow their dream and buy their first home. To all of those people, that transaction, that fiscal transaction, is likely the most important fiscal thing going on in their life at that time, and maybe their only life, their entire life. So I take that responsibility very serious. Like I mentioned, the real estate industry was really good to Dina and I personally as individual agents and representing our clients in a very positive way. But because real estate was so good to us, and the local area was, there came a point where I want to help other people do what I've done. Not just in sales, but not just in buying and selling, but in case somebody wants to follow the same career path that I've done, learn everything that I have learned the hard way often, learn from me and improve upon it. I want to help other people get a career in real estate and succeed in it to the wildest dreams that they could possibly have. So in 2016, we started our own brokerage, did really, really well for many years with it, and we've got a great core of agents right now. We've got about 12 with 2 more coming on the next month here, so we'll be at about 14. But my point in all that is, about a year ago, Century 21 approached us and asked if we wanted to franchise with them. And at first I didn't want to because, I like our independent thing. But then they came and they sat down with us and they showed us all of their tools and all of their training and everything that we could use to better leverage and enhance and succeed in the mission for the consumer and to better train and assist our agents. And after 20-something years in real estate, I couldn't believe all the things that I was seeing. So it only took a few minutes to see, I told them no, until they sat us down and showed us everything. And I was sold within half an hour of that. So like I say, we're still independently owned and operated, Century 21, Coastal Town Realty. So we have complete say in what we do, but we have the backing now of the largest, most recognized real estate, most experienced real estate brand on the planet. So if I don't know it, or if I don't know the best way to do anything, I have an army that I can snap my fingers and this information will appear to you and be trained. It's just amazing. I absolutely love it. So anyhow, that's a little background to how I came into the real estate world. And you know what? I'm going to share one more thing because it goes back to this. I mentioned, we had this dream about getting in real estate and buying our first home and doing this. The precursor to that was this rented double wide that we lived out in St. Helena. The owner that owned the lot on that, the piece of land, after a little time, he needed to sell that. So he offered to sell us that mobile home, but we would have to move it off the lot. It was going to be $2,000. We didn't have $2,000 at that time. We had actually to borrow it from Dina's mom, with interest, by the way. So we had to borrow this money to get this mobile home, to drag it off this lot from St. Helena to the farthest corner of Burton, all the way across northern Beaufort, and put it on a rented lot. And as we were dragging, we were so penniless at that time that we didn't pay extra to have plastic put on the side of the mobile home, on each side as it was being drugged to these places. And of course, as luck would have it, the day that was happening, it started pouring. So as Dina and I are in the car behind these 2 mobile home sections going down the road with all of our belongings and all of our stuff in it, it's raining inside of our home for the next 2 hours. And I looked over at Dina and I saw she was just bawling. And I said, you know what, excuse my language, this shit is never going to happen again. And that's when I picked up a book and started learning about real estate and how to do things. And that led us to going down to Bay Street and getting laughed at. And that led us, so once again, don't be afraid to fail. And that kind of gives a little background on me, us, and how we got into this gig. So I hope that answers your question. Well, that is fantastic, if I do say so myself. So thank you for sharing that. Now, normally on Beaufort Business Banter, what we do now is have you ask me a real estate related question, but I guess we've kind of checked that box for today. So I think that's all we've got. Once again, I'm Will McCullough. I'm the owner, and so is he. I'm the owner and broker in charge of Century 21 Coastal Town Realty, located at 83 Sam's Point Road on Ladies Island. Obviously, if you ever have a question or are curious about potentially buying in the area, if you're curious about potentially selling in the area, or if you're even curious about maybe asking questions about what it would take to start your own career in the local real estate industry, I would be happy to speak to you. And also, if you'd like to be a guest on upcoming episodes of Beaufort Business Banter, I'd love to speak to you.